Aston Martin experienced a steady decline in the last few races before the summer break. Some said it was due to a bad upgrade, while others said their earlier performance was due to a streak of luck. Whatever it may be, the team's performance was not as impressive as that of the beginning of the season. So what went wrong with Aston Martin? And now that the summer break is over, have they rectified the issues? When Fernando Alonso signed a deal with Aston Martin at the end of the 2022 season, many called it a dumb move. It really seemed like it, as Aston Martin ranked lower than Alpine. But Alonso definitely saw something. No one could have anticipated such a shift in performance. The team was competing neck to neck with Red Bull, while other rival teams like Ferrari and Mercedes could barely get ahead. And it was all because the AMR23, Aston Martin's F1 car, was awesome on the grid. The team had taken inspiration from Red Bull's 2022 car and was able to build something amazing. In the first 6 rounds of the 2023 Formula 1, the team was able to finish on the podium 5 times, all thanks to Fernando Alonso. However, things started to go south after Alonso finished second in Canada. Afterwards, he was unable to finish among the top 3 in the last 4 rounds before the summer break. Initially, Alonso placed the blame on the introduction of the new Pirelli test tyres. He said the tyres were not befitting for the track, hence slowed them down. But many people, including the team's principal, said it had nothing to do with the tyres. Then a rumour began to go round that the reason behind Aston Martin's drop in performance was due to the removal of the flexible wings. It's common knowledge that if a car has a really powerful front wing, it could gain more speed, but for it to be suitable for Formula 1, it has to pass the pull-down test. Although the design used by Aston Martin was not outrightly illegal, the FIA was studying it to be sure it did not violate the law stated in Article 3.3 of the regulation. All aerodynamic components or bodywork influencing the car's aerodynamic performance must be rigidly secured and immobile, concerning their frame of reference defined in Article 3.3. Furthermore, these components must produce a uniform, solid, hard, continuous, impervious surface under all circumstances. Looking at Alonso's performance during the early races of the season, you could see that at a point, AMR23 was able to run very high wing angles, and there was also an obvious flex in the wing when the car hit top speed. So the wing was not as rigid as it should be. However, after the Spanish Grand Prix, some changes were noticed in the front wing, so there's a chance that the FIA asked them to make a change but decided to keep it quiet. Or it could be the team just made some bad decisions. The team's principal, Mike Crack, revealed that the decline in performance was because the new parts added had some side effects they weren't expecting. They also didn't notice earlier because the defects in the updates were not evident in the tracks they had raced afterwards. We made a change earlier in the season and didn't anticipate it having some of the side effects that it did. It wasn't until after several races at different types of circuits that we realized how it was influencing the car. He also said that other teams had also made necessary changes to improve the performance of the car. We've lost small amounts compared to competitors, and as an engineer, that makes you disappointed. But it's the qualifying and finishing positions that give the perception that we've dropped back massively, when in reality we haven't. Our competitors just have improved more than us and jumped into the gap between us and Red Bull. However, he mentioned that he wasn't bothered by their current state because they were still on track with their long-term goals, so they'll keep making the necessary changes. He also mentioned that their performance after the summer break would be used as a yardstick to determine where they really stand. The summer break has ended and we can say Aston Martin worked hard to fix all their errors. But unfortunately they had a slow start. Going into the first race after the summer break, which was held at Zandvoort, the team introduced new updates to the car, but were forced to remove it when it failed. The team had added a small bow-tie-shaped device to the lower side of the rear crash structure, an area that no other team had thought of. It was designed to work with the new floor updates that had been added. The team also went as far as redesigning the jack to make sure the new part wouldn't be damaged. However, during practice, it showed signs of cracking. After further inspection, it was deemed unfit for the track and was taken off. The team performance director, Tom McCulloch, explained that they had just wanted to test how well it would perform before using it on the track. It was just an experiment really to see from an aero side whether it was producing the suction that it should have been producing in that area. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite reliable enough out on the track. So we decided, just as a precautionary thing, to remove it for the moment. However, he mentioned that they weren't giving up on the object yet, and would work on it till it was fit for use. Despite the disappointment at the beginning of the Dutch GP weekend, Aston Martin performed wonderfully well on the grid. Fernando Alonso was able to earn a podium and make their position as third on the constructors' standings firm. The Aston Martin driver crossed the checkered line to finish right behind Red Bull's driver Max Verstappen. After the race, McCulloch was asked what he thought of Fernando Alonso's performance so far. The team's performance director sang praises of how he helped drive the team forward. "We looked at him from outside when he was at Alpine, and then we obviously knew him for years, having been in the paddock. He's obviously at a very high level and he's pretty impressive as a driver. Actually working with him is even double that. He knows to ask the right questions too. I often say the drivers are one of the best sensors in the car, and he's definitely one of those." Clearly, Alonso is not the only driver on the team, but the performance of his teammate Lance Stroll is almost insignificant. Initially, everyone assumed that he would be fighting alongside Alonso for the podium, because he's quite a skilled driver, and his car is a beast on the grid. But that didn't happen. Alonso has outqualified Stroll at least 10 times. In race finishes, the difference is 11-1. Although he managed to finish among the first 10 a few times, even finishing 4th in Australia, there's a clear difference between his and Alonso's performance. The driver has been under serious pressure because critics and Aston Martin fans are constantly calling for him to be replaced. It doesn't help that his father Lawrence Stroll owns the Aston Martin team. Many believe that's the only reason they're still holding on to him. The junior Stroll has tried to prove himself on several occasions, and his team constantly assures fans that he's skilled enough to have a seat in Aston Martin. But no one's having it. Recent revelations show that all the pressure might have gotten to him, as there are rumours that he's planning to ditch F1 for tennis. Sports commentator David Croft was the first to mention that there's a possibility he'd be leaving Formula 1 soon, as he might have lost interest in racing. "We've never looked at his future elsewhere, but I just have a little feeling that in about a year and a half's time, Lance Stroll will race his last race in Formula 1 and go off and do something else. I just think he's losing his mojo. I don't think Formula 1 was the sport he wanted to go into when he was younger." Croft was not the only one who made comments about him leaving. The editor of The Race, Ben Anderson, also shared his thoughts. He mentioned that if Lance left the team to pursue a tennis career, a seat would be opened up in Aston Martin. And now that they've become one of the top teams, a lot of drivers would love to race with them, such as Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Albon, and the like. But based on the fact that Honda would partner with Aston Martin soon, Tsunoda would most likely be at the forefront if Lance Stroll leaves. The Aston Martin driver doesn't hide the fact that he enjoys playing tennis, and he might even be good at it. But the junior Stroll has revealed that he has no plans to grace the lush lawns of Wimbledon anytime soon. So what do you think? Kindly let us know in the comment section. And we'll see you in the next video.